My name's Daniel and I make videos. What else you want to know? Alright, today we're going to talk about 7 tips to edit faster in Lightroom. Alright, so here's the first tip. Apply an import preset when you're importing your photos. So when you drop down that lens correction tab, you'll see 2 checkboxes. You'll want to check the chromatic aberration as well as the lens profile correction, and just set the setup to auto. That way when you have different lenses, you can have it automatically choose what the best profile is for that, and that'll just remove your vignetting and the weird warping you get or barrel distortion from different lenses. And that's pretty useful. It'll save you a good amount of time. And then after that, I like to go in and just add a little bit of sharpening, probably around 14 or so, and a little masking. I like to keep the radius below 1. It just keeps everything a little bit cleaner, and I don't like over sharpened images, so that's kind of my personal preference. And then I like to add a little bit of noise reduction, probably around 5 or 6, just to add a little bit in there. It's always good to remove a little noise. Even some of the lower ISO photos will have a little noise in there. So after you have these corrections made, you want to go up to presets, make new preset, and then only check the boxes you want applied to each image. So I normally just keep the lens corrections, noise reduction, and a little bit of sharpening. If you want to add like a tone curve, that's always good too. I normally don't, just because some photos I like to do different curves on those. I normally name mine import, and that way when I go to import new photos, if I can apply like a preset, I just can hit import and then it'll add all those effects to every photo, and I don't have to spend, the extra 15-20 minutes going through each photo. And one more thing I like to do when I import my photos is I like to render 1:1 previews, just because Lightroom normally renders previews anyway, and if you set it to 1:1, you're getting the exact ratio of your photos you're editing, and it'll just make it less laggy. You've already got previews in Lightroom, and it'll just make the whole process a lot smoother. The only problem with this is when you do import your photos, it will take much longer if you have a slow computer. When I do 1:1 previews, it'll take about a half hour, and that's about probably 500 to 1,000 photos, but it's definitely worth it. And these will take up more space on your hard drive, but you can always delete them later. There's no real problem with deleting these files if you run out of space. So it's just good to do. I just think it helps with speed, and it'll help you edit a lot faster. All right, so tip number 2. Get organized. It's so important to be organized when editing your photos. So first, it's good to make a project bin. So if you go over to your organization bin folder, I just like to make one for portraits, I'll make one for landscapes, just kind of whatever genre I'm shooting. And then I'll do a subfolder, and then I'll put in like either the date or the location. So if I know I'm not going to be going back to that location very often, I'll normally just type it in. But before I go in and remove all the bad photos, I like to put them all in the different project bins. It just keeps everything a little bit cleaner, and if I need to find a certain photo in there, then they're all there, and I don't have to worry about going and searching for one. All right, so after you get all your photos organized into different bins and folders, it's time to go through and cull them and sort them out. So the best way to do this that I've found is just open up all your photos for one folder that you're in, and then go in there and rate every single photo. I normally do a yes or no system, so if I like the photo, I'll give it 5 stars. If I don't like the photo, I'll just leave it blank. Go to the bottom right, hit the sort, just select rating, and then you've got all your photos. And this way it just helps, it really sorts out everything, and it's easier to find your good photos. All right, so this tip is huge. So this one's actually GPU acceleration, and this makes a huge difference because instead of Lightroom just using your processor to do the images, this will also use your GPU, and this will make a huge difference because instead of having just one power source, you've got 2 now working to help you. All right, so how to enable GPU acceleration? It's actually really easy. Just go up to your edit tab, go down to the bottom where it says preferences, and then up on one of the tabs on the top, it'll say performance, and then just click that one, and the top one should be GPU acceleration. Just make sure you select auto or custom. I selected custom and made sure that both boxes were ticked, so you want to have it do display as well as just performance rendering. And once you have both of those boxes selected, you're pretty much good. Just hit OK, and now you've got GPU acceleration, and your files should load faster and you won't have to wait so long for them to load. All right, so my 5th tip is presets, and you've probably heard of presets before. It's all the things people are selling on YouTube, and you can also make your own. And if you don't know how to do that, it's really easy. It's kind of like the import preset we just did actually. And this one's really up to user preference. If you want an edit with lots of teal and orange, you want to go in and make that selection, you know, drop some contrast is always good too. Presets just help increase your Lightroom performance, because when you're going through photos, you can just kind of hover over these different presets and then you'll see if there's one you like, and then you can apply it and then tweak it from there. I wouldn't recommend just keeping the preset alone on an image, just because normally they don't look best right away. So presets are just good. You can just have them as a good starting point, and presets will just help you speed your edits along and make life a little easier for you while you're going through those 2,000 photos you've got. Another great editing tip is using batch edits. Now, I use these all the time, especially when I make time lapses. Batch edits are basically you edit one photo and then you can sync that edit with the rest of the photos. And it's super easy. So go to your first photo, make all your edits, you know, add some contrast, add some color, tweak the tone curves, just really stylistic, whatever you want to do. And then once you have that all dialed in, you want to have this as perfect as you can get it. So make sure you select the first image that you've edited and then go to the last image on the timeline that you want to edit, and then hit Shift. Click that image. It should select all of the images in between, and then go over to sync. It'll be on the bottom right corner, and then check all the boxes you want to sync. Maybe you don't want to do certain ones, but if you're going to do a time lapse, I'd recommend syncing all the exact same effects, and then just hit done, and it should sync every single effect on all the photos. And this will save you tons of time. Instead of having to go through each photo and edit the exact same edit, it'll just save you hours of work. All right, so my final Lightroom tip to save you editing time is making export presets. And these have saved me so much time over the years. So what you want to do is go up to export, and then I have about three different export presets. I normally have one for web quality, and then I'll have two for print. Normally one print will be for glossy, and then the other print will be for matte. So for the web, it's really easy to make these. Go to export, and what you want to do is you want to get all your settings correct. So normally for the export folder, I'll do choose folder. That way I can actually choose it from the preset if I'm exporting to a different place, which I normally do for every project. And then for naming, I normally go custom name, and then I'll do a -web. So by doing this, I know it's just a web file and not like a print or anything. For my color profile, I typically use sRGB, and I'll set my file type to JPEG at 100%. You can set this to anywhere around 80 to 100. I found is pretty good. I just like mine to have pretty good quality when I post it online. And then I normally just resize my images. I do long edge 2048 pixels, and make sure you click the don't enlarge, because otherwise if you've got a smaller file, then it'll upscale it and it'll just look pixelated. I like to resize my photos for the web, because otherwise they just get really big, especially if you're going to Facebook. The compression will just be horrible. Once you have all your settings done, just hit add in the left column, and then you can title it. I title it normally Facebook or web or something. Okay, so the only difference I'll make for making presets for printing is I won't add any sharpening for screen. I'll do it for my matte or glossy paper. I'll still keep it at low. I also won't resize my images. I want them to stay full sized. And for color space, I'll do sRGB, and then I'll do TIFF or JPEG depending on the lab I send them to. TIFF is normally higher quality, but some labs don't accept TIFFs, so JPEG will work fine for that. And same thing for the naming. Instead of web, I'll just do custom settings and then print, and that way I know it's a print. So yeah, that helps a lot with exporting, because instead of having to go through and type everything every single time you export, you can just select your photos, hit the preset, hit export, and there you go. All right, so these are my 7 tips for faster editing in Lightroom. I think they're great. I think you should use them. As always, if you have any comments, please leave them below. Give me a like, subscribe. Yeah, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm just gonna keep talking until I feel comfortable, because this is very strange sitting here with you there and me here. So I'm gonna drink more water while you wait. I have to look at you, not that. I have a book with stuff in it. This is my first video, so I don't know what I'm doing. It's a book. A book with a book. It's a book with a book. Get a book. Read the book, and you'll like the book. It's been 11 minutes already? Wow. Lightroom Classic. That's all I got.